hey guys, we're out doing a little bit of fishing. It's kind of slow, so we're going to get a whole bunch of footage, I think. And while we're fishing, I take a lot of people fishing lately. You know, down in my downtime, when I'm not fishing tournaments, I try and take friends out, usually friends from school or Facebook or something that's close to town, and I take them fishing for just a little bit of gas money just to keep me on the lake, and that's an awesome thing. I love doing it. You know, I can teach people and stuff like that how to fish, and every time I take somebody, they not only, some of them don't even know how to use a spinning reel right, but a lot of them don't know how to fish a plastic worm. So I thought, you know, this would be a great thing to put on YouTube, how to fish a plastic worm properly. It's something that a lot of people probably overlook and think it's just a plastic worm. You know, there's two ways most average fishermen that fish every now and then that fish a plastic worm. They either fish it too slow, to where they're basically almost trolling, to where they cast it out and they're just chilling and just thinking about whatever's going on outside of their head, outside of fishing usually. Or they fish it way too fast, and I see it a lot with people I take. I don't know if it's exactly because I fish fast. A lot of times in the morning when I take people out, a lot of times I'm fishing fast moving baits, whether it's something topwater, crankbait, or something usually. That's usually how I fish in the morning, you know, that capitalize on a morning bite. So I don't know if that's why, or if it's just because they just don't know how to fish a plastic worm. You know, I know that they look at me and how I fish. Even when I fish a worm, I fish it pretty fast. Like I get it out there and I keep it in the strike zone of where I think I'm gonna get a bite, and then I reel it in real fast and make another cast. I'm trying to be as precise in my fishing as I can. So when I see a lot of people, I'll show you a video, a short little clip of how they do it wrong. But a lot of times they cast it out and they're almost just steady reeling. And that's wrong. That is wrong. Completely wrong. I mean, you can get bites swimming a worm, but that's not the technique. That's not the technique for this. If you're going to use something like that, you're much better off using a crankbait, something that's going to get a reaction. A plastic worm is a bait that invokes a hunger strike, not a reaction strike, okay? It's a subtle bait. It's very natural. So I'm going to show you how to fish it right, okay? Okay, so no matter where you're at, whether you're fishing down the bank or right here like we're fishing a point, what you always want to do, cast out and give it a little slack. I like to keep my rod high, kind of high when I cast it, because it gives me a little slack line. You see how it's got a bow in the line? You can look out into the water, see the bow that I have? And that's going to give it enough slack to where it's going to sink. I'm going to close the bail, and I'm going to give it a second to sink. And a lot of times you're going to know if a fish bites. Don't be worried that one's going to get it and you're not going to know. You're probably going to know. Now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to give it a couple seconds, and then you're going to just test it. What I mean is test it is you're going to reel your slack up, and you're going to test the weight. And if it feels real heavy or you feel something swimming off, that's a fish. Set the hook. But if it's not, then you're going to go on with your cadence and your retrieve. And what you're going to do is you're going to get your tight line. And the only time with a plastic worm that you reel, a lot of people make this mistake, they think they're reeling the whole time. The only time you reel with a plastic worm is when you're reeling your slack up after you've made the pull or the drag. So a lot of times I like to keep my rod kind of high. I go up to about 11 or 12 o'clock. It gives me a lot of good sensitivity. And it gives me a second. If I feel that fish, I can give him a second, and then I can come down and get him. So my technique is going to be, this is going to be in real time if I'm fishing a plastic worm. You know, it's going to change to the depth of water, give it enough time to sink, but you're going to get the idea. I'll make that cast real nice, smooth, follow through. I give it a little line there, close it with my hand. That's how you use a spinning reel. I'm going to give it a sec. We're fishing, we've kind of gone off the point, so it's going to be a second before it actually hits the bottom. But I'm going to start my retrieve. And just right there, I'm just testing the weight. I'm seeing if something got it on the initial fall, because that'll happen a lot. It'll happen a lot, but don't be afraid. If one gets it on the initial fall, more than likely they're going to get it. They're going to get it. So he's going to have it or not, okay? Nothing on it. So I pulled all the way up to about 11 or 12 o'clock. You can imagine a clock around my head. Nothing's on it. So I'm going to drag. I'm going to go way up. That might even be almost 1, maybe 1 o'clock, but it's real high. You know, you can do your own thing. You can be, the highest you may want to go is here. But me, I like to go all the way up here, and I'm just going to reel my slack, and it's going to get tight right there. And that's your just normal retrieve. Now, a lot of times, if I'm dragging and I feel a rock or something that's kind of, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep tight line, and I'm going to kind of check it. It's the same thing. I'm just going to check it. And if it thump, if it goes thump, it's a fish. I'm going to give it a second. I'm going to reel down and set the hook. If not, then it's probably, if it stays still and it doesn't move or anything, it's probably a rock or something on the bottom. And there's two things you're going to do. You're either going to try and hop over it and get it over it, or you can do what is kind of like a real dead sticking technique when you're fishing a worm, and that is when you feel that opposite object, you just give it a little slack. Just give it just a little slack. I'm tight right there. I'm going to ease down, and I'm just going to shake. I'm just going to shake. What that does, that gives that tail, it's not, the bait's not moving inches. It's not really moving, but it's just staying right there by that object. And a lot of times those fish will be by that object. They're looking down on it. You're giving them a chance to really bite it. Okay? nothing bites it, I'm gonna give it a couple seconds, just however long you experiment with your retrieve. You know, experiment with through it the day. A lot of times when I don't have fish found, I'm gonna be faster. I feel an object, I'm gonna pop it over. But if I've got fish found, especially on an area I know they're at, I might shake it there. I might keep it there because I know I've caught some fish here. But if I'm trying to cover water, I'm gonna just hop it on over. And I'm gonna just, but always keep bottom contact. If you don't have bottom contact, either use a heavier weight or fish slower. Always bottom contact. You always want to be feeling the bottom. And what I like about worm fishing is I can cast out there, just the same thing. I give it a little slack. I pulled up. You see how I went through and then I pulled back up? That's just giving me a little bit of slack. So when I fall, it's going to have a straight fall like I want that bait to have. With a shaky head, it's going to usually have a spiral kind of fall. And it hasn't hit the bottom yet because I'm way out off the point. Now I'm in open water, like 30 feet. Fish jumped. Okay. But if it hit, it would already have hit bottom, and I'm just going to check it. I'm just checking it right there and dragging. So stay tuned, sub. This is one of the basic things a lot of people have problems with. So here's going to be a clip of how to do it wrong. Peace. So as you can see in this clip, we're going to show you what to do wrong. I'm bringing a buddy of mine out fishing, and he was doing this earlier, and then I showed him how to fish a worm correctly. You see the improper way he's fishing it here. You can see how he's just reeling. This is a plastic worm. This is not a crankbait. This is not a spinnerbait, but he's fishing it up off the bottom. He doesn't have bottom contact, and he's just reeling. He's not really reeling up much slack. He's reeling pretty much continuously. The only slack he's reeling is when it's way up off the bottom, and that's just not the way you fish a plastic worm. And I mean, don't get me wrong, you can get some bites doing that, but that's really not the original way. So we wanted to show you how to do it wrong. I see a lot of people doing exactly what he's doing right there. We're going to watch him make one more cast and do it again. And don't make fun of his bad cast. He's not a regular fisherman. That wasn't too bad, Kevo, for you. Wasn't too bad for you, Kevo. See, he does a good job there. I taught him how to use a spinning reel right. But see, he's kind of fishing it like almost like he's jigging a spoon or something. That's not the way you fish a plastic worm. You want bottom contact all the time. So we want to show you a little short clip of how you're doing it wrong. I see a lot of people doing this, especially fishermen that don't go fishing a whole lot. And I don't really know exactly why, but that's how you don't do it.